So what do you say we spend a little time in the greenhouse today? All right. I tell you what, things are popping in the greenhouse, almost running out of room. I'm gonna show you what all we got going on in there. And today, I got to get my watermelon started. So before we go inside, I'll show you what we got going on right here with these 8 flats of peppers and tomatoes that have been stepped up. So lately we've been having a lot of people ask us about hardening off their warm season transplants. You know, these things are grown inside a greenhouse or maybe inside your own house, and you want to kind of slowly acclimate them to the temperatures they're going to experience when you plant them outside, which is going to be a little bit cooler than what they're getting inside a greenhouse or inside your home. Now, some people get really scientific with this, and they'll start out putting them outside an hour or so a day, and then step that up to a couple hours a day, then 5 to 6 hours a day. But around here we just keep it simple. So we have a pallet sitting outside the greenhouse there, so they're not sitting on the ground trying to root in the dirt there. And we just sit them outside the greenhouse here where they're getting close to be ready to put in the ground. Now if we see some freezing temperatures coming, we'll put them back inside, but we just set them out here for a week or so before we're ready to plant, and let them kind of get acclimated to these outside temperatures. You can see our peppers there are looking jammed up really nice. The hotter peppers are a little slower, a little smaller, but your sweet peppers there looking really good. These tomatoes here getting close. Those better boys, man, those things are growing so fast. They're outpacing the rest of these. The rest of these are kind of more heirloom types. They're outpacing those pretty significantly, but all these guys here are pretty close to being ready to go in the ground. And then looking at the weather forecast down here in South Georgia for the next 2 weeks, looks like we're going to have one more little cool spell. Thinking Monday or Tuesday of next week, supposed to get down to probably the mid 30s. So I don't want to put any of this stuff in the ground quite yet, but after that, looks like we're clear. And if we can get our ground ready in time, hopefully it'll dry up, be ready to put some of these tomatoes and peppers in the ground. So now let's go inside and see what's going on here. All right. You see we got our own little garden here at the bottom of the greenhouse. If I have extra seeds in a packet, just a few left, I tend to just kind of scatter them on the ground down here. Looks like we got some collards and some cabbage, and even got a little sunflower growing in here. But once we're done growing transplants in here, we'll close all the windows in this when it gets hot, and it'll basically nuke all this stuff, so no worries. But we got some little extra grab bag produce down there. Now, as far as what we've got in trays coming up or waiting to come up, let's start right here. These are those peppers that Jason at Cog Hill sent me, and he said the seeds were a little old, and I'm starting to lose faith in these guys. Haven't seen anything yet. I know peppers are slow to germinate, but I think it's been 3 weeks on those guys. Having some tomatillos going there and some Jolene tomatoes started. Just a few of those. I don't want to grow a whole lot of those, but going to try some tomatillos this year. Here we got 2 trays, and we're going to be planting today. I'll come back to those. Looks like Greg's already got his watermelon started. Looks like he's going to be growing the baby doll variety this year, which is a small yellow watermelon. Man, it was someone grew them last year and gave us one, and that was one of the sweetest watermelons we've ever tried. So he's got those planted there. Looks like one of them's coming up, and the rest of them should pop up pretty soon. See, he's got a flat of Bella Rosa tomatoes planted. He usually grows some of those for a fellow down the road. Over here's some more of my stuff. We've got our flowers planted here, all our flower transplants. So we've got some ageratum down here, and it's usually the slowest to come up, and those seeds are tiny. Well, they're popping up. You see that tiny little seedling right there. Got some impatiens there that came up, some nasturtium that's working on coming up, and some lacy facilia is coming up good. Need to thin those out a little bit. Over here we got some marigolds, some celosia, some cosmos, and some zinnias all coming up nicely. Just need to thin a few of those. But happy with my flower trays, and still probably several weeks out from when we need to put these in the ground. So still got time to let these guys do their thing. Over here on this other side, I've got my 2 herb trays, which look really, really good. Not quite ready to be transplanted yet. Need a little more thinning on a few of these things. That dill needs thinning a little bit. That tarragon there needs thinning a little bit. But everything came up really good. Our tarragon came up good. There's our thyme. We got our Italian basil and our Thai basil over there. Got some borage right there. Our dill and our sage. So really happy with our herb germination. Just going to take a little more time to get these guys ready to pull out of these trays. Here we've got some of those tomatoes that we didn't step up. Just kind of been leaving them in here in case, you know, we want to give a few away. Not going to throw them out quite yet. And these are all our extra peppers we grew. So we grew a lot just to kind of check the germination rate. And I've told you before, you can plant right out of these trays. We like to step them up, but you can. So that's what it would look like if you had a pepper plug in a 162 tray that was ready to go in the ground. And if you didn't have a lot of traffic around your garden and you weren't worried about anybody stomping on them or a dog or kid getting them, you could certainly put that puppy right there in the ground. And then lastly, right here, I've got all my kind of determinate disease resistant tomatoes planted. And you see they've all came up good there. Maybe 1 or 2 celled it and germinate, but pretty close to 100% germination there. We've got our Bella Rosa, Red Snapper, Summer Pick, Florida 91 Roadster, Southern Ripe, Tachi, Invincible, and some Chef's Choice Pink. So really happy with germination on those guys. And we'll plant these right out of that tray when they're ready, when they'll pull right out of there. Now back over here to what I'm planting today. So as if I didn't have enough peppers, we just got some new varieties in that I really am excited about trying, because I've been looking for some of these giant varieties for a while. So I am going to start one more tray of peppers and we'll just find somewhere to put them in the garden. So this is a new one we just got in called the Iberia Cayenne pepper. This is a monster cayenne pepper, supposed to get on up to about 11 inches long. Farmers around here call these finger hots. But really big cayenne peppers. So looking forward to growing some of those. Those look like they'll make some awesome hot sauce. Another giant pepper here is this poblano variety called Hidalgo. So this makes those big poblanos. It's good for stuffing. These things get about 6 inches long or so. Another monster pepper here is this Colossus jalapeno, as the name would suggest. So these are big, like 5 to 6 inch long jalapenos, good for slicing and stuffing. Another monster here is the Trapio Serrano we just added. You can see that's a normal size feller's hand there. You can see how big those things are, get on up to about 6 or 7 inches long. I really like Serranos just cut up fresh on a taco or something like that. They don't have a whole lot of heat, just a little bit. Then we got this new variety of habanero. This is a hybrid habanero that's a little more productive, a little more early, and a little bigger than the standard OP varieties, called Helios. So I'm going to grow a few of those. I do like to make a little bit of habanero hot sauce every now and then. And this is not a new variety. It's one we carried last year. A really good dried pepper variety called Durango Guajillo. So I'm going to throw some of those in this last little slot on this 162 tray here. So I've got that tray of peppers right there I got to get started, and then this tray is going to get watermelons. So I've never actually grown watermelons in my own garden. I watched Dad grow a bunch of them over the years, but never actually grown them at my house. And kind of stepping out on a limb this year, not only is the first time I'm growing watermelons, first time growing seedless watermelons. So we're going to give seedless watermelons a try. We added several new varieties of seedless watermelons this year, and so the one I'm going to be planting here is called Summer Breeze Seedless Watermelon. Now you don't have to transplant watermelons, but I would highly recommend transplanting them. All the commercial guys transplant them. Dad's always transplanted them. They just seem to do better that way. Now you definitely want to transplant them if you're growing some of these seedless ones. These seedless seeds are pretty pricey. Now the watermelons are really good from them, but the seeds are pretty pricey, and you don't want to risk direct seeding these in the ground and maybe losing a little bit of germination. You want to grow them in a very controlled environment, whether it be in a greenhouse or inside your home, so you can get some really good germination on these guys. Only plant 1 seed per cell, get them up and going, and then once you have a healthy transplant, putting that in the ground in your outside garden. Now these seedless watermelons can be a little bit tricky at first to get them to germinate. So that's why we definitely want to put them on a heat mat. Once you get them up and going, they grow pretty daggum fast. The trick with seedless watermelons is you have to plant them with a pollinator variety. Just any standard watermelon variety will work. Now in our packets here of seedless watermelon seeds, you get 15 of the seedless seeds, and we include 10 of a pollinator variety. We use Charleston Gray here for all of our seedless seeds, but you could plant any watermelon variety you wanted, as long as it wasn't another seedless variety, as the pollinator. I'm going to go with this one here, this Carolina Cross 180 that makes real big, giant jumbo melons. So I figured I would grow some of these as my pollinator, see how big a watermelon I could grow alongside or among these seedless ones here. So on our row by row garden show several weeks ago, we kind of broke down how the whole seedless watermelon thing works. And I'll try to remember to put a link to that show in the description below if you didn't see it. But if I don't remember, you can easily find it on our YouTube channel. If you look up the row by row playlist, you'll see the recent episode there about seedless watermelons. So these seedless watermelon seeds are what they call quadruploid seeds, which means they have 4 sets of chromosomes. Now to get a seedless watermelon, which is a triploid that has 3 sets of chromosomes and is sterile, that's why it doesn't have any seeds, we have to kind of breed this quadruploid with a standard watermelon variety, which is diploid. So this has 2 copies of each chromosome. This has 4 copies of each chromosome. When we breed them together, we get a watermelon that only has 3 copies of each chromosome. Now, so these summer breeze seedless ones will be seedless, and then we'll also get some production from our standard variety, whatever we're using as a pollinator, this Carolina Cross in this case. So we'll get to harvest some of these guys as well, but we're really going for these seedless ones here. So you got to grow them alongside a pollinator. Now the ratio here, you have to kind of plant them in a certain way as well. So what you want to do is, assuming you're going to be transplanting these, which you should, is once these transplants grow out, you're going to put one pollinator variety or one pollinator transplant, in this case the Carolina Cross, one of those per 3 of these seedless plants. So when I'm planting these along my rows in the garden, I'm going to put 3 of these summer breeze transplants along the row, and then I'm going to stick one of these in, this Carolina Cross, and then 3 more summer breeze, 1 more Carolina Cross. So you want to plant them with a 3-to-1 ratio. No matter how many rows you're planting or whatever, a 3-to-1 ratio is what all the big watermelon growers recommend. Now the plot I'm going to be using is one of the plots in my dream garden, and it's 30 by 35 or approximately 1,000 square feet. I'm going to give these guys plenty of room as far as the rows go, so I'm probably going to put my rows about 5 feet apart or so. I'm going to put my transplants about 2 feet apart along the row, but my rows are going to be far enough apart to give these things plenty of room to vine and crawl. So if I do my rows 5 feet apart, that'll give me, I think, 5 rows, as long as I leave myself some room on the end there. So let's just say 5 rows in that plot. The rows are going to be 30 foot long, and so that gives me 150 row feet of watermelons. If I'm putting a transplant every 2 feet, then I need 75 transplants. And then if I'm planting these at a 3-to-1 ratio, I can figure from that how many seedless transplants I need and how many of these Carolina Cross transplants I need. So this does take a little figuring ahead of time to figure out how many transplants of each variety that you're going to need. What I'm going to do here is basically just cut this, not quite in half, but almost in half. Cut this 162 tray in half, plant half summer breeze, half the Carolina Cross. So I know I got plenty of each. If I lose any when I put them in the ground for whatever reason, I have some backups here I can use. So we're going to plant these just like we would basically anything else that we plant in these 162 trays there. We're going to take our fingers and make us a little dibble for our seeds there. A little dibble or indention, and you want your indention to be about twice as deep as the diameter of the seed you're planting. So I'm going to make a little deeper indention here than I would for, say, something like peppers or tomatoes, because watermelon seeds are bigger than those seeds, obviously. So make a little deeper indention here for those guys. And expect these all to germinate pretty dadgum well. This Summer Breeze has a 97% germination rate listed on it. So definitely no need to waste seeds and put more than one per cell on those. Our Carolina Cross here, let's see. We got 86% germination on those, but we're planting enough of them, we should be fine. I'm still just going to put one seed per cell. So let's get these seeds in here. Looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows we're going to do for the Summer Breeze, and we'll do the rest of this for Carolina Cross. You see in the seed packet here, we open this up, there's a little baggie in there, and that's your pollinizer, or Charleston Gray in this case. But like I said, you could use whatever pollinizer you wanted. You don't have to use this one in here. Charleston Gray is just a good one because it doesn't look anything like any of our seedless watermelons that we carry. So when you grow them together, you definitely know which one is seedless and which one is the Charleston Gray. In this case, I'll know the differences between the two because the Summer Breeze is going to be smaller than this monster Carolina Cross 180. So let's get these puppies in our cells here. And now for our Carolina Cross here, these seeds are a good bit bigger than those seedless watermelon seeds, which I would expect from a more of a giant watermelon variety like this one is here. Dad likes to tell the story of when we grew some of these when I was a kid, and they got so big we couldn't hardly haul them out of the field. If you put them in a wheelbarrow, you couldn't hardly drive the wheelbarrow. And watermelon is not always the easiest thing to pick up because it's, you know, kind of slick on the outside. We grew some of them. We just had to leave them in the field. We couldn't get them out there, so we just had to go out in the field and eat them and kind of leave them there. So I don't know if I'll be able to grow them that big or not, but it'll be something fun to do with the kids. Have some giant watermelons out there alongside these seedless ones, hopefully. And now that we got all our seeds in, we'll do like we normally do here. Instead of covering them with more seed starting mix, we'll cover them with perlite. You could also do this with vermiculite. I really like using perlite, and just gives those seeds a little more airflow, keeps the top from kind of crusting over on that soil as you water it and water it as you're waiting on these things to germinate and grow. We saw the commercial guy, a lot of commercial greenhouses are around here, around this area, and we'd always seen them do this but never really knew why. We asked them and they didn't really know why, but we started doing it ourselves and really like it better than just putting more seed starting mix on top. Nothing wrong with just putting more seed starting mix on top. We did that for years. I just like this a little bit better, and we do have perlite on our website. If you have trouble finding any, we have it in little 8-quart bags, which is more than enough for just a few of these seed starting trays. Alright, so we got those in the tray, got them covered up, watered good, got them on the heat mat set to 100 degrees. I'll probably go ahead and roll these sides down on the greenhouse, even though it's supposed to be relatively warm over the next few days. I want to get it nice and warm in here. These seedless watermelon seeds need some warmer soil to germinate more than standard watermelon seeds, so I definitely want to create some warm conditions in here for these guys to get some good germination. So heat mat is almost always necessary when germinating these kinds of seeds, and then we'll roll this down to make it even hotter in here. You could grow these indoors in your house, no problem. I would definitely have a heat mat though if I was going to do it inside. So as far as our overall transplanting progress goes, we've got tomatoes, peppers done, herbs coming up, flowers coming up. We just got our watermelons going. Really, I think the only thing left I have to do is okra and maybe sunflowers. Sometimes I transplant sunflowers first thing spring. Sometimes I'll just wait till the soil's warm a little bit and direct seed them. I always transplant okra in the spring because I can get it in earlier, have okra start producing earlier by doing it that way. Okra likes warmer soils to germinate. If we wait on those warmer soils, then that's going to delay our planting a little bit. But we can start them in the seed starting trays and get those plants in the ground the same time people will be putting seeds in the ground outside, and we got a jump start on the okra production. So probably within the next week or so, I'll be getting my okra started and maybe a tray of sunflowers or two. So let me know how your seed starting progress is going out there. I know a lot of you are like us, and you've got some stuff ready to go in the ground. You're just waiting on it to dry up a little bit so you can actually plant it. I'll put some links below to all the seed varieties I showed you today, so you can head on over to our website and check those out. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and ring that bell so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you did enjoy this one, make sure to check out these 2 videos right here. I think you'll really enjoy those as well. We'll see you next time.